AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the live edition of the Front Stretch. We are doing it live for the next couple of weeks, and we will take your phone calls all morning long, well, at least for the next hour, at 573-0590, 402-573-0590. You can also get us toll-free, 1-877-244-0590. I am Dan Taylor, and filling in for the one and only Buddy Ray is the announcer at Eagle Raceway, Stan Cisar. Stan, thanks so much for joining me this morning.
Well, thank you, Dan. You didn't tell me when you called that I had to be Buddy Ray for the morning. But,
we're going to spare you that tragedy in life from doing that. But Buddy decided to go race Osceola last night, and I guess via Facebook I found out that they had a bit of an incident, train accident down the road, and there was an injury, so the ambulance had to go and attend to that person. And so according to safety rules, they can't run, and they didn't have a backup, so they called the feature events and sent everybody home.
Buddy looking for that track that he can show up and be competitive at. That's a good thing.
I think he's going to do this touring thing. He likes it a lot. So tonight, I think he hasn't confirmed it, but talked about going to Stewart Speedway and racing there. Of course, so is Jesse Sobbing, as he's going now for the National IMCA Modified Points lead.
Well, yeah, if you were going somewhere to race on Sunday night, it'd be great just to go and watch the outcome of that. Be on hand, watch some good racing over there. But hopefully Jesse can pull things off, and it'd be nice to see one of the local guys again get back in that national championship deal. Of course, Dylan Smith and Johnny Sadoff, between the two of them, picked up 5 national championships a few years ago. So the local guys in this area, pretty stout competition nationally. And
I was talking to Luke Cochran, owner of Home Pride Companies and sponsor for Jesse Sobbing, and Luke said Jesse would be the first driver in IMCA history to win three different divisions for the national points.
Yeah.
One in the hobbies, one twice in the sport mods, and now he's got the chance to win in the A mods.
And there was a lot of controversy, when Jesse was dominating that sport mod division, talking about, well, he shouldn't stay in the sport mods, he needs to move up, and I guess he silenced most of those critics because when he did move up, he continued to dominate. The guy can just drive the wheels off a race car, and I'd like to see him go even farther up the line in the future.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Luke Cochran said that he's in Jesse's ear to go USMTS next year. So I haven't got a chance to talk to Jesse about it. I don't know what Jesse's plans are for that, but that would definitely be a step that I don't know. Maybe you take another year down in the modifieds, or as much as Jesse is winning, there's a valid argument for going ahead and making that move up to the USMTS.
Well, they've got 2 cars, and they could easily convert one of those cars to be a USMTS legal car. And obviously, then one of the major differences is build that USMTS spec motor with their new program that they have. And he's obviously got the driving ability, and I think he and the crew can get the jet mod dialed in, to be competitive with the big guys.
Big show lined up for you today. In Turn 1, we're going to break down all the action last night from Thunder Valley. Turn 2, we will talk Eagle Raceway, recap your races from last night, and also kind of talk about your season a little bit, and then what is left for Eagle Raceway. Just because the points are up last night and you crowned some champions doesn't mean the racing is over with at Eagle Raceway. In Turn 3, we will break down some of the action from Shelby County Speedway. A shocker to a lot of fans out there. I mean, everyone knows that I'm the NASCAR guy, and that's my where I come from. But I skipped the NASCAR race last night to go watch Sobbing race at Shelby last night.
Well, the nice thing is, in the age of DVRing the races, I caught part of that Bristol race myself this morning, before I came into the studio. And, you can always go back and watch that at your own time schedule, and the Saturday night show though only comes around once, and you got to grab the gusto.
There's not an opportunity, and there was only once I was going to get to see Sobbing race for tying the national IMCA points, which I'll talk about that in Turn 3 if he was able to get it done. Turn 4, we will preview Atlanta and talk about the Boone Super Nationals in the next coming weeks for the Front Stretch, because we are live and in charge for the next couple of weeks A lot of shows going on live and different locations. But Turn 1 brought to you by Kansas Speedway, KansasSpeedway.com. We are just a little over a month and a half away, a little under a month and a half away from the Kansas Speedway race. October 4th, 5th, and 6th is the NASCAR weekend, and you can get your tickets today at KansasSpeedway.com, or you can call 1-800-460-RACE, 1-866-460-7223. The race weekend is just around the corner. ARCA on October 4th, Nationwide on October 5th, and the Sprint Cup Series on October 6th for the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. They do a fantastic job down there taking care of fans. There's not really a bad seat in that place. And with the repave and the redesign, the action just absolutely ramped up last year's chase race.
That should be. It's one of the tracks that I think the drivers will look forward to. It's a very fast track, and it's something that belongs. I'm glad the guys in the Midwest, all the fans in the Midwest, get a chance to experience the thrill of the chase, and I know the drivers will like the track.
KansasSpeedway.com or 1-866-460-RACE to get your tickets today to the to the Hollywood Casino 400, and better get your hotel rooms booked now because they're filling up fast.
Speaking of Kansas Speedway, they had something a little different last week. They had the Grand Am Rolex Series down there, and that was very well received. A lot of friends were down there. Some guys were down there working the race, and a lot of the guys at Road Race SCCA up in this neck of the woods were down there, and a great crowd on hand. It was well supported. Those guys put on a great show for the fans down there, and I'm sure that's going to be a regular on their schedule.
I was really wanting to get down there to that race, but unfortunately I had some obligations on the 17th. I wasn't able to make it down there, so we're going to try to go down there next year and just add a little bit of a different flair to the front stretch. We talk a lot of circle track, a lot of NASCAR, and a lot of dirt track, and it'd be kind of fun to talk a little road course once in a while.
Well, I'll tell you what, of course, my background was a little bit in road racing. My son, we did the Trans Am Series for a couple of years and got to travel around. Those guys with those prototype cars, awesome speed down there at that track. They were over 200 miles an hour quite a few times, and they actually tried to slow those cars down a little bit because they were a little bit too fast.
Well, let's talk about the action last night in Thunder Valley, your top 5 at Bristol Motor Speedway. 5th place, Joey Logano comes home with another top 5 finish in that 22 Roger Penske car, and Brian Vickers in the 55. A lot of news going on with that 55 machine, with Mark Martin leaving to fill the seat for Tony Stewart full-time in the 14 for the remainder of the year. He's only going to miss one race, and that's Talladega, where Austin Dillon's going to come back up and race that one. But Brian Vickers putting up another top 5 finish, showing that he is the one to take over that ride in 2014. Juan Pablo Montoya, a great top 3 finish. I want to say it's his first of the season. He's had kind of a rough season this year.
Yeah, and there is no track dryer at Bristol, so, obviously Montoya
missing the jet dryer. Yeah, that was such a freak incident. You can't say enough.
It's crazy. But, and here's a guy that's obviously, they touched on it a little bit, guys that are the road course ringers. Those guys obviously expect them to do well at Watkins Glen and out at Sonoma. But even on the short tracks, Marcus Ambrose and Juan Montoya, they're a little hungrier, and I think they want it a little bit bad, and they bring it. Yeah. They're used to racing door to door like they race. Basically, road racing is short track racing, except there's more corners. Yeah. And
if you missed the announcement a couple of weeks ago that Juan Pablo Montoya would not be returning to the 42 car for 2014, so you wonder if, by the sounds of everything, he may be going back to IndyCar to race there full time, where he had a lot of success. This may be a parting thing for him, to where he's, let's go out on top. Let's make sure this team is in tip top shape, and frankly, let's show these guys that I do know how to race stock cars.
See, adios, Juan.
Yep. Casey Kane comes home second to Matt Kenseth one more time. This is the 3rd time this year that Matt Kenseth is able to hold off a hard-charging 5-car.
Casey Kane obviously very frustrated, but he's a class racer. He didn't take a cheap shot at Kenseth, and what can you say about Matt Kenseth? He was just I want to use the term, they were phoning it in. when they were driving the 17 car for Roush. It's amazing with the funding that they have and the technology and the ability and the talent on their crew and the whole operation for Roush that they were just a very complacent team, and it seems like they never give Kenseth a car that was capable of winning more often. But boy, I tell you what, since he's been with Joe Gibbs, he's proven that he's still got the fire and he's still got the ability to wheel that car. And boy, what a great choice by the coach putting him in that 20 machine.
And speaking of Roush Fenway, highest finishing RFR driver Greg Biffle got a 9th place finish, but Ricky Stenhouse with an 18th place finish, and Carl Edwards all the way down there in 39th. He takes a big hit in the points. I believe he lost an engine, so a rough night for him in that 99 after leading and looking like he had a really good car. Lost an engine.
Rough night for Roush Yates engines, but even on the short track level, the Roush Yates dirt track program is kind of in limbo right now, not looking too strong. And one of our local guys that runs the Roush Yates powered cars, had some tough luck up at the Knoxville 360 Nationals, losing a brand new motor, 7-lap-old motor. But he's supposed to have that back this week, I'm told, and Jack Dover will have some strong power plant underneath the hood again for these big shows coming up in the next few weeks.
Rough night for several chase contenders or big-time drivers. Like I mentioned, Carl Edwards, 39th, Jimmy Johnson, 36th, Martin Truex Jr., 35th, Kevin Harvick, 34th.
Those guys caught up in that crash, and it's just a fluke, kind of a fluke deal, Denny Hamlin unfortunately has a tire cut down going into turn number 3 and tried to keep that car down on the low side, but it just took him where he didn't want to go.
And that's the tough thing about Bristol. You've got such fast speeds because it's a high bank. You're able to carry so much speed into the corners that, if this was Martinsville, I think he'd be able to keep it down a little bit because you're so much slower, but he just washed right up the track and took out a couple of drivers and got an earful from Kevin Harvick, who maybe now will be sitting there going, well, sorry.
I think, and I think that was part of the explanation. I think when Harvick left the car, I think he kind of knew what was going on. He thought it was a retaliation deal originally, but I think after he got the explanation that Hamlin was going along for the ride, and they used to joke about Bristol and saying it was kind of like racing fighter planes in a gymnasium, and. That's kind of the way it turned out last night.
Kurt Busch in the Furniture Row Racing car trying so hard to get himself into the chase, finishes 31st. Our defending Sprint Cup champion, Brad Keselowski, comes home 30th. Again, we talked about Denny Hamlin coming home 28th. Ryan Newman 21st, Mark Martin filling in for Tony Stewart 20th. So there was a lot of drivers, and nothing that's outside of the norm. You do see these drivers that, like Kevin Harvick, they're riding along with a top 10, and all of a sudden they just get taken out, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it at Bristol and these short tracks.
It's short track racing. It happens every Saturday night. And
if you want to see your own local short track racing with the NASCAR Flair, the Truck Series coming to Iowa Speedway September 8th. Iowa Speedway, big supporters of the show, and we will be down there on September 8th broadcasting live. That is the perfect combination between a short track and a speedway, because you're going to get a lot of speed, but you're going to get not enough room to get your truck through all the action, so there's going to be some tempers.
I think the mile tracks are a great track for some of those classes. The Nationwide, the Craftsman, or the Camping World Truck Series now, I lose my toolbox contingency, but yeah, and how about the trucks on dirt? I've always said, and I would in my fantasy world, I would like to see the chase be comprised of add another road course race to the chase, put a dirt track race in the chase. There are some facilities around the country that are large enough, I think, to get the fans in. Obviously, Eldora Speedway, I think Knoxville, Iowa could handle a dirt track race of that magnitude. Some of the big mile tracks that they race the ARCA cars on dirt, some place like the Syracuse Fairgrounds up in New York, the big mile tracks, it would be awesome to see the Nextel Cup on dirt.
You would that would be fantastic. I don't know. It's a scary proposition, but I think everyone would love it.
It's a throwback, but I think exactly. It would be taking the best of both worlds. It would take NASCAR and bring it back to the dirt track, weekly dirt track level, and I think it would be great.
Well, let's take a break. In turn 2, we're going to break down the action from last night at Eagle, all your champions you guys crowned, and talk about the season in review. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 200 people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team meetings, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Find out what makes a day at Kansas Speedway such a big deal. Sure, it's a chance to see NASCAR Sprint Cup racing at its finest, but it's more than that. It's an all-day party, starting with one of the best tailgating experiences on the planet, especially since parking is free. And it just gets better. You can take your own cooler full of your favorite beverages right into the race. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 on October 6th start at $64, and we have more seats available for $99 or less than ever before. For tickets, call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609. 308-383-9609.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he's talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
We're working the high line into Turn 2 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into Turn 2, brought to you by Shamrock Limousine, 712-352-0539. You can get more information online at shamrocklimosite.com. They're the, as far as I know, they're the only limo company in Omaha and Council Bluffs that has a jet green limo that is perfect for St. Patrick's Day or just showing up in style.
Yep, those guys are great guys over there. We do some work for them at my sign business, and great to have them on board as a sponsor.
Jim over at Shamrock Limousine will take care of you. And the thing I love about Jim is he's that, I want to call it the good old boy. He's not your big professional. He's not going to kowtow. He's not going to, oh, yes, sir, no. He's, hey, what's happening, man? What can I do for you today? That's what Jim is.
Down to earth.
Exactly. 712-352-0539 or shamrocklimosite.com. You can also get more information by emailing him, shamrocklimousine@hotmail.com. Real quick, before we get to the Eagle, I want to recap the point standings following Bristol. Jimmy Johnson obviously had that massive points lead just a couple of weeks ago. It has dwindled to just 18 over local boy Clint Boyer, Carl Edwards in third, Kevin Harvick in fourth, and Kyle Busch in fifth. But a lot of guys taking a big points hit in the points lead in the standings, championship standings after Bristol last night. This could get interesting. All of a sudden, the chase resets now, and Jimmy Johnson doesn't have the points lead because he's only got 4 wins. Matt Kenseth's got 5, and Jimmy kind of seems like he's on a bit of a lull right now.
Yeah, he's kind of slippery slope there, and they'll be back, but it's pretty much amazing though. From week to week, how some guys can be dominating one week and be out of the ballpark the following week. And I think the team that gets the most consistency together, obviously, is the one that's going to be rewarded in the end.
We'd love to hear from you today, 402-573-0590, 402-573-0590. You can also get us toll-free, 1-877-244-0590. Talking with Stan Cisar, the announcer at Eagle Raceway. And Stan, I appreciate you getting up and filling in today for Buddy, who is recovering from the train wreck at Osceola last night. Let's talk about that Eagle Raceway races last night. You guys had another great night of racing at the high banks of Eagle Raceway.
Last night of points. Last night, and a couple classes that came right down to the wire, but actually everybody that was leading the points going in did hold on, and picked up the points championships. Kicking things off, Sport Modified division, it was pretty dicey there. Benji Legg with an outside shot to be able to unseat Gary Sadoff. He was 19 points back going into the night's action. He qualified out of his heat race. Gary Sadoff did not. He had to run the B main. He was sitting back out of the transfer spot in that B main, and only in the last couple laps he got up to fifth and final transfer. So he started 20th and last in that Sport Modified A main event. Benji Legg raced his way all the way up to a second place or fourth place finish in that Sport Mod feature. But Gary Sadoff come home, just a cool, calm, collected race, and finished in 11th and managed to maintain the points lead by 12. So he will be once again the track champion in the Sport Modified division.
Boy, Benji starting 14th made his way up 10 positions to get a fourth place finish.
Yeah, and in the hobby stock division, Roy Armstrong, boy, one tough old guy from down at Beatrice, and he was 22 points ahead going in. R.J. Macu had a lot of wins this season, but it was kind of checkers or wreckers for RJ. He had a couple flat tires, couple incidents there where he got knocked out of that deal. He did win the battle last night, but lost the war. Armstrong finished fifth, and he clinched the title by 17 over RJ Macu. IMCA Modified division, the A-Mods, arguably probably the very toughest weekly competition for an IMCA A-Modified track within the Midwest. You got Dylan Smith, who is a former national champion, Johnny Sadoff, four-time national champion, Tim Ward, who races in the Midwest out of Gilbert, Arizona, comes up and races every summer with us. He makes Eagle a regular weekly stop. Chris Abelson, currently number 6 in the national points, comes down from Sioux City. Chris Alcorn, a former track champion. Kevin Larkin's coming back to racing, a 6-time Eagle Raceway track champion, came out of a retirement to race this week. And I tell you what, there's 12 guys every Saturday night that's really got a shot to win it. And for Dylan Smith to pick up another points championship, he had it clinched before the A feature started last night. And he hung on for the win. It was a great race once again, but he did once again pick up the points championship in the modified division. Sport Compacts now, the front-wheel drive 4-cylinder machines, kind of an entry-level class. We're still on that 30-35 cars every Saturday night, in the Sport Compact division, and there was 3 points separating first and second. These guys are best friends, Chad Basinger and Matt Moyer, Matt out of Gretna and Chad Basinger out of Nebraska City. And those guys raced wheel to wheel for the entire race last night. And actually, when it came down to the finish, our AMB scoring came out 0-0-0. The margin of victory, and it was literally, I would say, probably 2 inches. Chad Basinger did win the race, but only gained a point on Moyer, and Moyer picked up the points championship. But those guys, they were both celebrating victory lane, and it was a great night for those guys. And it's a great class, good entry-level class, and a lot of guys have started out in that class, and they're progressively moving up the ranks, and it's a great way to get into racing, pretty inexpensively. IMCA Race Saver Sprints, what can you say? Mike Boston picked up yet another points championship in the sprint car division, car number 51. We call him the boss, and he's been the boss. He's got 6 wins this year, but I tell you what, it wasn't a gimme, and we've talked about it, in Victory Lane interviews. Last night, he and Jason Martin both said that the difference between the race savers and the 360s, you come up, even these guys that are out in front, they start getting in lap traffic late in the race. Last night, 1 caution flag on lap 2, and then the rest of the race went green, white, checkered. Last week, the race went green, white, checkered. That gives the leaders a chance to get into that lap traffic. And he said, when you got a guy that's running, you're coming up to lap him, he's in your lane, and you can't just blow by him like you used to be able to. There was a pretty big difference in the horsepower of those engines years gone by. They've really kind of equalized things, and Jason Martin's been a great addition. He picked up his second A-feature win in a row. He's from Liberal, Kansas, and he moved to Lincoln to work for Eagle Chassis about a year and a half ago, and he's going to be racing weekly with us and dropping in, and he's tuning up for this big race we got coming up next week, the Super Nationals, actually. Before Boone kicks things off up there, the thing actually kicks off for the IMCA Sprint Car Division on Saturday and Sunday at Eagle Raceway.
A lot to choose from as far as your biggest movers, if you could, I know you try not to play favorites, but pick a couple of classes and give me drivers that you're really kind of excited to see. Maybe they're up-and-comers or somebody who overcame something.
Oh, most certainly. You can talk about the Sport Modified division. Kyle Floodman out of Hickman, Nebraska. Their family owns a 305 sprint car that Greg Boldy drives. Where it is that Kyle will be in a 305 sprint car. He raced a year in the hobby stocks. He raced 2 years now in the Sport Mod division. A couple of weeks ago, he came from 20th in feature to finish third. He's been in the top 5 for the last 4 weeks, and I believe currently like fourth or fifth place in the point standings in the final deal. Really good young driver. Another good young driver in the Sport Mod division, Joey Danley. Danley comes from a racing family. His father and his uncle both raced 360 sprints, and Jason Danley still races. He's a former ASCS Midwest champion. And I know Jason thinks an awful lot of Joey, and if those guys can put the funding together, it'd sure be nice to see Joey get up into that sprint car division. I know that's where he wants to be. It's just a matter of dollars and cents, and the Race Saver program actually gives some of these guys a chance to consider moving up. You know, we talked about that a little bit earlier on in the show. If you look at that Race Saver point standings, Terry Richards, a guy that was in the modified division, moved into sprint cars. Matt Richards raced in the modifieds, raced in the sport modifieds. I always used to watch him race a modified, and he loved running that high side. And I said, man, that got to be great in a sprint car, you know, because he loves running up on the cushion. And he ends up the season in third place in season-long points. Clint Benson out of Papillion raced a late model for quite a number of years. He purchased a 305 Sprint, and he ended up finishing fourth in the season-long points. You got two of the ladies, Shaylee Bade. I know she's been on the show pretty regularly, and she comes out of the mini sprints. Lacey Tuttle comes out of the IMCA Modifieds, and both those ladies started in row number 3 last night. Both of them finished inside the top 10, and they've had a second-place finish as their best finish in the sprint car division this year. So, you know, something that, you know, really pretty good. Well,
let's talk about those 305s. There was a lot of conversation in the off season that you know, the speculation and frankly there was some real resistance, because if I may venture a bit of out on a limb here, that dirt track drivers don't like change.
Exactly.
there's nothing new with that. And there was some resistance to these 305s because they felt like they were going to be slow. It was just basically going to be a sport compact show, which I just want to venture up that sometimes them sport compacts put on one heck of a show.
Well, you know, the track record for the 305 sprint cars is 1.4 seconds slower than the 360 track record. 360 racing, don't get me wrong, I do the announcing for the ASCS Midwest Tour, sponsored by Speedway Motors, and get a chance to see these guys race quite often at a lot of different tracks around the Midwest. And well, you know, it's great racing, no doubt. You've got the names, you've got the talent, you've got the budgets. And but for the weekly show, I guess the problem that I could see and that Roger probably saw was the fact that there weren't new guys getting involved. New guys weren't coming into the sport, and you know, so hey, I love them both. You know, it's like apples and oranges. You know, and you know, we got coming up. We're going to have the best of both worlds. Next week, we've got the IMCA Race Saver 360 Nationals. Over 61 cars pre-entered from 8 different states. They're coming from Texas, Virginia, Oklahoma, North Carolina, as well as the surrounding states. Should be a great event. And then the following week, of course, we got the annual Nebraska Cup weekend, and that's going to bring in all the ASCS guys. Jason Johnson, 2-time defending champion. That'll be coming up, you know, the following week on Sunday night, September the 8th. It's going to be the third night of a big 3-night ASCS swing, so I'm going to be treated myself personally to some great sprint car racing in the next couple of weeks. It'll be the best of the 305s and the best of the 360s.
I want to take a second and make sure to send our condolences to the Parker family. Bob Parker passed away this weekend. Dennis Parker's father, and Dennis Parker, obviously one of the guys that helped put together the Nebraska 360 Sprint Car Series. So Dennis and his family gets a big get well soon, and you know, take care.
Well, you know, I met Bob Parker at a very early age. You know, my dad was a flagman at Sunset Speedway, and Bob Parker actually was the first track champion at Sunset Speedway back in '57 and '58, and he was a great guy. He had a long career in racing. Actually did a lot of open wheel racing, did some midget racing, did some super modified racing. Saw him over at Knoxville, Iowa, competing at the Nationals. And he was a guy, like I said, I was just a youngster when I first met him. He was a guy that always stopped and take time to talk to you, always had kind words for you, always said hi, knew who you were, and great guy. And he'll be sorely missed. I talked to Dennis this past week, and I knew things weren't well, but 87 years. He made it a long way to that final checkered flag.
And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Parker family as they're dealing this time of loss. So the Nebraska 360s, they're continuing right along and doing very well.
Well, the Nebraska 360 Association, they started out, basically they had a lot of races out at the Butler County Speedway. Those went very well. They were special races out there. They've raced at Junction Motor Speedway. Of course, we had our event up at Denison. I came up and joined you in the booth up there, and we had a great night of racing up there. Unfortunately, a horrific crash by Stu Snyder, which for all intents and purposes I think is probably going to end his driving career, but great racing up there for the 360s. They've got an event coming up this weekend also, and then they're going to be a part of all the ASCS action the following week, and then the big fall brawl up at I-80 to close the season out.
Let's talk about the Eagle preview. You guys still have several weeks of racing to go. Before we wrap up Turn 2, let's talk about what you guys have coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Well, coming up this weekend, we've got a Friday night practice session. A lot of guys, as we mentioned, 60-some entries, a lot of guys coming in from out of town. There'll be a practice session on Friday night, and then we've got the IMCA Race Saver Super Nationals taking place at Eagle Raceway on Saturday and Sunday, August 31st, September 1st. Actually, there's going to be two complete programs on Saturday night. It's going to be the Sport Mods Hobby Stocks and the Race Saver Sprint Cars. They'll be qualifying the inside 10 rows of our A-main event on Saturday night. Everybody will have another chance. They'll start with a clean slate on Sunday night, and they'll qualify the outside 10 rows for that 30-lap A feature on Sunday. And then, of course, the national championship race will be coming up. $2,000 going to the winner and $1,000 to start, which really got a lot of people's attention. The purse breakdown, it goes from $2,000 to $1,800 to $1,700, couple at $16, couple at $15, all the way down. And these guys, that's like tripling their normal feature winnings. So a lot of interest in that race from all over the country. And then we mentioned the Nebraska Cup weekend. That's coming up on Sunday, September 8th. And that's going to be kind of a unique situation. The SLMR late models and sprint cars. Two classes of cars only, not a lot of support classes. Great racing.
If you're trying to call in, give us a second. We're going to just put you straight on hold. The phone's having some issues, and Craig can't quite hear you. So give us a call, 402-573-0590 or 1-877-244-0590 is the toll-free number. We're going to take a quick break. Come back in Turn 3. We're going to talk about some race results from Shelby County Speedway last night. Also check in with Buddy Ray, who's doing some racing throughout the Midwest.
Buddy Ray up yet?
I think he is. He's sending me text messages, so he's awake. Whether or not he's coherent or not, that's always the question. We'll be back on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
It's time to check out what all the dirt drivers already know. Joe's Karting is the Metro's best place to go for kart racing, where the only speed restriction is how good you are, reaching up to 45 miles per hour while twisting and turning through a 25,000 square foot building. Joe's Karting is sure to raise your heart rate. It's time to find out how fast your knuckles will turn white. Located in Council Bluffs, just north of Bass Pro and next to AMC Theaters. Online at joeskarting.com. Get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
This week's Legend of Tomorrow on the front stretch is Devon Havlick, a senior at Iowa Falls High School. Devon is the son of two-time IMCA Stock Car Super National Champion Jeff Havlick and nephew to Randy Havlick, a top designer of Victory Chassis. Devon, 18 years old, hoping to follow in the footsteps of his father and uncle. He's currently racing the Victory Chassis 5D IMCA Modified in just his second year and already has 2 wins under his belt. He also finished second in points at Hamilton County Speedway in Webster City. Outside of racing, Devon likes to hang out with friends and help other young drivers as they learn the ropes of dirt racing. Devon's looking forward to working on his car for 2014 and continuing to make his way to victory lane. Keep your eye out for Devon Havlick. He's this week's Legend of Tomorrow on the front stretch.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up, heading into turn 3. Actually, we're about halfway done. What am I talking about?
You know, we were taking the high side in turn 2, you know, and that cushion's getting up pretty close to the wall. So.
Turn 3 brought to you by I-80 Speedway, online at i-80speedway.com. The SLMR Series ran last night, a couple of back-to-back races. Gosh, where were they at? They were in South Dakota
Raceway Park
Friday night, and then they were at McCool Junction last night. I didn't see who got the win, but I did see Andrew started 14th, got himself a 6th-place finish.
Corey Zeitner beat his cousin Justin Zeitner, first and second for the Zeitner crew up in Raceway Park, up at the little bull ring up in Sioux City. And then last night out at McCool Junction, it was Bill Layton Jr. finally getting that long-awaited SLMR win for 2013.
Now let's head to the phones. I think I know who this is, but we'll see. Caller, what's your name? Pushing some buttons. Try it one more time. Caller, what's your name?
Gentlemen, good morning. It's Buddy Ray.
Oh, boy.
He is.
And the show just went downhill.
It's alive.
I heard you caused a train wreck where you're at. Can you please not do it to this show?
Well, you know, the funny thing is, if you remember last year, you, me, and Andrew were all down at Kansas Speedway for the NASCAR race, and we went to Lakeside, and Andrew got stuck by a derailed train at Lakeside Speedway.
And listen, before you continue, let me just remind you, we cannot repeat the saying we were saying all weekend long, okay?
That's his story, and he's sticking to it.
Yeah. Well, last night I'm laughing. I'm lining up for the feature, and there's literally a train at the end of the pit, and it's coming by nice and slow, not a big deal. Well, it stopped. Well, nobody thought nothing of it. They actually found a body on the train track, and they called all the fire departments and whatnot. 20 years of racing, I've never been called, or I've never seen the races called because of a body being found on the track. So my thoughts and prayers go out to that person's family. But Clark County, wow.
Buddy, tell us a little bit about the track out there at Osceola.
It's really neat. It's really, really tiny. And when I say tiny, I watched cars maybe spaced out a car length. In Stan, you know what I'm talking about. You know, from first to second, there's a car length between them. From first to fifth, it's from first corner to fourth corner.
We looked at a couple pictures that were on the internet, and it kind of reminded me of maybe a dirt track version of Playland Speedway from years gone by, a little 5th mile bull ring.
I don't even know if it's that big. Quite honestly, Jack Prawl, that races out at Eagle, he came with me last night, and when we were the first two cars that showed up, and all we could say, we just died laughing when we saw it. We're like, wow. A high school track is bigger than what we were on last night. In fact, I had my Power Glide in low gear, and I think I could have raced in low gear. Night.
What are the bankings like? Is it a bank track or a pretty flat track?
It's a very, very... 1 and 2 got some banking. 3 and 4 is fairly flat. And if you go over the backside, don't worry about it. The berm on the backside is only about 12 inches tall, so you just go right over the berm and come right back on the track. It's not a big deal.
You've been looking for that track all your life, haven't you?
I'm telling you. I mean, you seriously... When you come off turn 4 and the car gets a little sideways, you ain't got much time to react because it's time to get back into turn 1. So I was like, wow. It's a very dinky track. If you have a very inexperienced driver or you don't have a big budget to go race with the big boys at, say, someplace like Eagle Raceway or Crawford County Speedway or I-80 Speedway, you have a new driver, small budget, perfect track, and I'll tell you what, it is a very heavily family-oriented track. No alcohol, period, is allowed on ground. They don't get a big car count. They get about 400 to 500 people. And if the listeners out there have ever been to Butler County Speedway, Clark County Speedway's stands are probably half the size of Butler County, but they probably get 3 times the amount of people out there. It's a very small, flat track. But I tell you what they did last night. So we're all lined up in the feature, and then, of course, the track's red flags because we ain't got no ambulance or fire trucks. They got called out to the scene. And so we're all sitting there for probably 30 minutes. I'm falling asleep in my car at my old age. And finally we all get out of the car, and one of the officials goes, well, here's the deal, guys. It is what it is. It sucks. We all gamble with rainouts and whatnot. What we're going to do is we're going to take the payout. We're going to add it up, tow money, feature winning money, everything. We're going to add it all up. We're going to give everybody show-up points, which is 20 points in the B mods at Clark County. But we're going to take all that purse money, and we're going to divide it evenly by all the drivers in the A feature, so everybody gets the exact same pay. I thought that was a class act because they don't have to do that.
You know, one thing could be said for racing on the short tracks like that. It really makes you learn to race. Because then you can, when you get to a bigger track, obviously the speeds are a little greater, and there's a little bit more room. But if you learn how to race on a bull ring, you can usually go anywhere to race.
But it's funny you say that because last night I was getting kind of cocky and arrogant, and I was like, "Well, here comes the pain." So I show up and I get ready to go out for hot laps, and Jack calls, and you know who he is in the 44 car. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Are we going to hot lap?" I was like, "We better." So we went out there hot laps, and at Eagle Raceway or I-80 or Denison, we either charge the bottom or we want to be the first ones on the high side. And, at those kind of tracks, not that Clark County's got bad drivers, but on our tracks, we have a lot stiffer competition, so we have to make a move a lot quicker. So in hot laps, I made sure I was the first beeline out there, and they dropped the green flag in hot laps. So I tried to charge the corner. Yeah, that didn't work. I mean, you make a beeline for the top side, you about go over, and it's a weird kind of dirt is all I can say. It looks like something that came out of a 6-month-old diaper, and it kind of smeared. It was a very slick, but once the track packed up, it went dry pretty quick and very, very smooth. Thanks for
sharing that with us, buddy.
That was lovely.
Good morning, guys.
Well, what are you doing for today? Any plans racing tonight? I've heard a rumor of where you're going, but why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, we actually made a fun deal out of this whole weekend. We wanted to go to 2 tracks we've never been to. We've got a lot of fans that have been following us on the Ricky Buddy Racing page. And so we decided to go to Clark County last night, obviously. Tonight we're going to Stewart, Iowa. Never been there, never raced there. I mean, I've been there to watch it and then never drive. A lot of people are really excited about seeing us up there. And it's actually quite a bit bigger track than Clark County. In fact, Jack Paul and I, one thing about Clark County, if you take Mini E, this is no joke.
Stretch out Mini E, yeah.
Mini E, the outside is the inside of Mini E. Mm-hmm. That is no joke. That's how big it is.
Wow.
It is like, wow.
When you get over to Stewart, it'll be very similar to Eagle. It's got really high banks, but a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower. So you got to feel right at home over there.
Well,
I should.
Make sure to keep us updated because tonight could be the night that Jesse Sobbing locks up the IMCA National Modified Points Championship. Well, doesn't lock it up, but takes it over and all but guarantees it as he was able to get the win last night at Shelby County Speedway.
We were following that, and William Gold did not show up.
No, I was really surprised about that, and apparently, because you and I were talking a lot about it, that why would you come up here, buy a 604 crate, put it in your car to race 2 races? It just doesn't make sense, and much like he did with playing mind games, he didn't actually buy a 604 crate and put it in his car, so it was all just a bunch of smokescreen.
Actually, he did buy a 604 crate. The guy that I raced against at Clark County, Colton. He actually was standing right there. He was talking about it last night. He was standing right there. He shelled out like $5,000+ in cold hard cash, bought the crate, all the accessories, make it a complete engine. And then... Well,
if he bought it, apparently he didn't run it because Sobbing and Luke Cochran both said that he was running his regular engine at Lee County and I can't remember where they raced on Wednesday.
So he got... from the sources I talked to last night, he had some issues with some officials, so he said the heck with it. He went home last night, and at KSP, I'm not Tyndale Speedway, he actually went there and won last night.
Yep.
But the fact that William did not show up at Harlan now means that all Jesse needs is one win to tie the national points, and he would win by default over William.
I think they're already tied, and he needs one more win for the tiebreaker.
And then it would be settled up, and he would for sure be our national champion.
His win last night tied them up for the points lead. but Gould owns the tiebreaker.
And talking just a little bit about the crate engine in the A Modified division, for the last 2 weeks, Dylan Smith lost his open motor in hot laps 2 weeks ago in the black car. He brought the red car out that he normally runs with the crate over at I-80 and some of the bigger tracks, and he won the last 2 features of the year with a crate engine at Eagle Raceway. So that was pretty surprising to a lot of people.
Well, yeah, and and as a driver that uses a crate engine, if you think about this, I don't know what Dylan's open motors go for, but let's say they're going to go for 7,500 in the A-Mod. That's not unrealistic.
Let's say Dylan's open motors go for considerably more than that.
Okay, so let's say 10,000. Let's say 10,000. So you got $20,000 that you just lost. He comes out with a crate, wins with it, and he's what, $5,000?
Yeah.
See where the cost savings is right here. Some drivers don't like it, but
Stan and I were talking about this. It's all just resistance to change.
Yeah. Does the word race saver ring a bell?
Oh, speaking of race savers, they had a 305 sprint car Clark County last night.
Cool.
Imagine putting a 305 on Mini E.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't even think the car hit 50 mile an hour down the back straightaway. It's literally gas, brake, set.
We got to take a break. Get Stan out of here because he's got to go and take care of the Almighty. But you're racing Stewart tonight, and then you're making your way back, right?
Stewart, making my way back home.
Well, all right. Good luck tonight, buddy.
All right, thanks a lot, gentlemen.
Have a good one.
Yep, you too. Bye.
All right, we're going to take a break. Let Stan get out of here. When we get back, I'll recap some of the results of last night from Shelby County, preview Atlanta, talk Boone Super Nationals, and so much more. Stan?
Dan, great being here.
We always appreciate you joining us, and it's a bit of a task to get up on Sunday morning after a Saturday night show, so we always appreciate it. Stan, have a great weekend, have a great night, and we'll see you next Sunday night.
Make the trip back from Boone, Iowa, and we'll see you at Eagle Raceway next Sunday night.
I always will. Thank you, Stan. Announcer for Eagle Raceway, announcer and aficionado for ASCS 360s, and all-around great guy, Stan Cisar. Thank you. And Action Signs, right?
Yep.
Give you guys a quick plug real quick.
Do a lot of race car lettering, a lot of commercial truck lettering, vehicle wraps, and stuff like that. Been in business 27 years, and have a great time.
All right, Stan Cisar, thanks so much. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590 Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, located just north of Bass Pro. Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 200 people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team meetings, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other trending things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Find out what makes a day at Kansas Speedway such a big deal. Sure, it's a chance to see NASCAR Sprint Cup racing at its finest, but it's more than that. It's an all-day party, starting with one of the best tailgating experiences on the planet, especially since parking is free. And it just gets better. You can take your own cooler full of your favorite beverages right into the race. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 on October 6th start at $64, and we have more seats available for $99 or less than ever before. For tickets, call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he's talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kasiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kasiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
Now we're just about ready to wrap this baby up, heading into Turn 4. Again, all the action at I-80 Speedway, you can catch their full schedule, i-80speedway.com. or call their ticket office. September 1st, next Sunday, their All-Star Championship Sunday, Super Late Models, A-Mods, B-Mods, Pro-Ams, Grand Nationals, Hornets, plus the SLMR Series and Nebraska 360s will all be at I-80 Speedway next Sunday. And then the Fall Brawl kicks off Friday, September 20th. So it's just a few weeks away. Gosh, it's heartbreaking to say that the specials are beginning to start and the weekly racing is beginning to wrap up, which just simply means the dirt track season is close to being over with. So if you've got a call in and you want to talk about any racing you saw last night, 402-573-0590. We'll put you direct to air. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, you know who this is, Dan.
Oh, PJ, how you doing, big guy?
Good. Kept up on a little bit of the Shelby County action from last night on Facebook, and felt like it was pretty interesting.
Oh, man, it was some fantastic racing. It was hot and humid, but the beer kept me cool. I pulled a bit of an audible. I told everyone I was going to stay home and watch the NASCAR race, and then just at the last minute I thought, you know what? I need to go to Shelby County at least once this year, and this is a perfect time to go to try to see if Sobbing can get himself another win.
And he managed to also, but a couple other weird things I kind of found out about. Jason Cole having a rare problem with a blown tire finished way back, and Tara Webb, according to what she put on her Facebook, kind of got bounced around like a pinball, fell in the back, and still managed to come up for third.
Yeah, I was really surprised about that. I'll start with that conversation about Jason Cole. There was a lot of talk in the pits. Something happened between him and Shannon Anderson. I know there was a little bit of conversation afterwards, some heated words exchanged between the two. I don't want to say, I didn't see what happened. From my vantage point, I could not see turn 2, so that's where the incident happened, and it caused Cole to rub a tire and to blow it. And so the caution came out. He came in and got work done, but he just wasn't able to. He got back on the speedway as the field was coming out of turn 3 and going into 4 to get the green flag. So he wasn't able to get up to speed and catch up to the field. If he did, I think he'd have got himself a top 5 because he definitely had a fast car. But something happened between him and Shannon Anderson, broke that long streak that was going for Jason on getting W's between Crawford County and Shelby County.
Yeah, I believe he went 9 for 10 between the two tracks.
Yeah, and then for your Sport Compacts, I was very happy to see Kara. She didn't exaggerate at all. She got bounced around like a little pinball out there, but she fell back to the back of the pack, but kept her composure and then made her way up to get another top 3 finish at Shelby County.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing since she came back the first 2 weeks she had problems with the car, and then all of a sudden they got it figured out. She gets the feature win the last week in Crawford County, goes third last week, third this last night. So, I mean, they got that car figured out, and watch out for next year. She's going to be a threat.
Exactly. Feature winners from last night for your Sport Compacts. Tony Carragher out of Woodbine gets the W. Shannon Anderson gets his 200th feature win for IMCA Hobby Stocks out of Atlantic, Iowa. Your Northern Sport Mods, Mason Daughters out of Polo, Missouri, came up in the 55D and got a win. Stock Cars, Keith Knopp started 8th, made his way all the way up to get the checkered flag. Out of Shelby, Iowa. Late Models, Barry Sorensen out of Harlan, Iowa, got the win. And then, obviously, your Modifieds. This was a bit of a story. Sobbing started about, I think, 3rd row, 4th row, but made contact with, I believe it was the 39 car, but again, my memory is pretty bad, so I think I got that wrong. But had to come in and get some work done on his car. Started dead last with 12 to go or 10 to go, and with the benefit of a couple of cautions, was just meticulously able to make his way through the field. And I was kind of texting back and forth with a couple of people. I could not believe the patience with this guy. He had 10 laps to get it done, and like I said, if it hadn't been for a couple of cautions, he just wouldn't have been able to catch the front of the field. But he had he had such a run off of turn 2, but he was able to lift and not get into the back of somebody or cause an accident and get a rough driving like you see at some of these tracks where drivers they need to get to the front right now. He just took his time, and I think with 3 to go, took the lead.
Well, you know, like you, me, and Buddy have all 3 said, love this guy or hate this guy, he has so much God-given talent that car, but yet he knows when it's time to save and when it's time to just drop the hammer. He has such finesse, and it doesn't surprise me that he managed to pull it out even with the problem.
And with that, like we talked about all show long, he gets the win. He now is tied for the IMCA National Modified points, but because William Gould out of Oklahoma owns the tiebreaker right now, Gould is still the points leader. So Jesse is headed to Stewart tonight to race, and their one of their concerns was that there wouldn't be enough cars. There has to be 10 modifieds in order to take the green flag. So Jesse's got 3 more feature nights that he can count towards the championship, and he's just got to win in one of them.
Now, does Gould have any left?
No, as far as I understand, but again, the story changes depending on who you talk about. As far as I understand, the Gould is out of nights, and that was kind of his strategy for coming up here and racing with Jesse, was to maybe get into his head a little bit, and if at all possible, if he can get a win, that's one more that Jesse can't get.
Right.
I give him a lot of credit for that strategy. I laughed pretty hard when I saw that. He came up here, and they did a lot of mind games on Facebook, but I think that is about the last driver that would fall for mind games.
Yeah, you're not going to pull anything over on Sobbing. It's just not going to happen.
He's too dang good, and he's too talented, he's too confident, and he knows what he needs to do. It's just simple wins. There's nothing else. He can go for it and wreck, and at least say, well, I went for it, and I didn't get it. But he's not going to hold back at all at this point in time.
Oh, no.
If you're looking for a show, you better get to Stewart Speedway tonight. You might be able to see Jesse Sobbing crowned IMCA points leader following tonight. So get to Stewart Speedway. I'm not familiar with that track. Do you, PJ? Do you know much about it?
I know it's a short track. It's got a lot of banks to it. I've never personally been there. I hear different things from different people that race there. Some people say it's an awesome track, and then I hear others that say all they do is come back with junk equipment. So I don't know. I really don't have an opinion either way on the track, but from what I've heard different things. So.
Well, we got just a few minutes left in the show. I'll let you know that next weekend the front stretch will be at Boone Super Nationals, broadcasting from the Tech Inspection line. And then the following weekend, PJ, you're going to join me at Newton Speedway for the for the Camping World Truck Series. You're going to co-host, as Buddy's going to be still at the Boone Super Nationals recovering, but he's hoping to call in and give us an update on all the racing. So, PJ.
If you continue to call it Craftsman, by the time we get down to Newton, Camping World people are going to be down there with the handheld saying, okay, pay the fine, we'll still.
I got to get that fixed, don't I?
Super Nationals, though, they are coming up, and, man, I'll tell you what, that's one thing I've had on my bucket list. I still have yet to get over there. But everybody I talk to, that is a week-long, basically it's a party when a race breaks out.
Yep.
You think 700 to 800 cars are going to end up going through at one time or another throughout the week. And we are talking about the best of the best. I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but literally the best of the best IMCA racing and all the classes are going to be there. And, that's one show that definitely everybody has to check that off their list at least once.
All right, PJ, thanks so much for calling in and helping me out with Turn 4. I'm going to wrap the show up and call it a day. Have a good one, man.
You too.
All right, that's all the results in action from Shelby County Speedway from last night. Let's preview Atlanta, which is where NASCAR is headed next. Denny Hamlin is your race winner from this time last year. Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick all finished in the top 5, and every one of those guys needs to finish in the top 5 again, as Martin Truex Jr. needs to remedy what happened last night. Also does Brad Keselowski. Jeff Gordon got a good finish, but he needs more to get back up into the chase, and Kevin Harvick needs a good finish at Atlanta also. Again, we'll be live next weekend from the Boone Super Nationals. We'll break down all the previewed action. We'll talk with Brad Pruitt, and we're going to get a bunch of drivers. Don't know who yet, but as they roll through the inspection line, we'll talk to as many drivers as possible. This is the front stretch. Hey, don't forget, get to Quaker Steak and Lube today, the official watering hole of the front stretch, online at QuakerSteakandLube.com, on Facebook, and located on Mid-American Drive in Council Bluffs, right next to Joe's Karting. This is the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609, 308-383-9609.
For 50 years, Eagle Raceway has been pushing the limits of dirt track racing. Weekly Saturday night racing features the Midwest's best battling at the fastest third-mile track in the Midwest. Gates open at 5:30 with a green flag at 6:30 for IMCA Modified, Sport Compacts, Hobby Stock, Sport Mods, and Race Saver Sprint Cars. $10 for adults, $5 for youth 6 to 12 years old, and kids under 6 get in free. Located just 10 minutes east of Lincoln on Highway 34 and online at EagleRaceway.com.